Yeah, I can. Yes, I can. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. I'm trying to. I'm trying to get on Twitch to make sure.
Okay, now they should be able to hear us. Okay, sorry about that. I think it is both working. This is our first show, so I knew something would not go smoothly. Okay, I think we're good to go now. So hi everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Amplify with Friends. This is the very first in the series. Shawn, do you wanna give an overview? Let me move my
Uh,
mouse. Is someone's
am I muted?
mouse? Okay, no, never mind. No, you're good.
Yeah, cool. I think this is it's a weekly stream that we're kicking off
Uh,
to
a
essentially
bi-weekly
share the
stream, right? I believe.
bi-weekly. Um, it's basically we're sharing the awesomeness of Amplify. I think there are a lot of aspects of Amplify, and it can be quite a lot to read the docs, or watch some of the talks. So I think it's we probably prefer a more casual place, but also I think it's good to meet the people behind Amplify and the people who use Amplify. So we're going to be also bringing in some guests like the engineers who work in Amplify, as well as some of our community builders and maybe some other people. I don't really know what we've got planned. Um, but yeah, I mean, I is there anything else that you'd add to that?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. I think exactly like you said, it's gonna be a casual show to talk about Amplify, what people are working on. It'll be a mix of engineers and then community builders who are a part of this new program to showcase folks who've just been really passionate about using Amplify. So this show is for you if you want to learn more about Amplify, you want to ask questions. We're gonna dive into different sections, and we're going to be doing a demo today, actually. So I guess to go through the agenda, we'll start off with some intros. We'll tell you a bit about Amplify, and then we're going to dive right into a demo that Shawn's going to lead. I guess with that, do you want to explain what Amplify is for those who don't know?
Sure. I'm always like unsure where to start with this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Um, so
The high
I
level
view
pitch.
the high level pitch is that honestly that uh, you shouldn't have to go through 9 months of cloud university to use AWS. And this is very much a pitch targeted at front end and mobile developers, people who do client facing products work. Um, and I think the struggle that I have had myself, but then I see other people have as well, is that they feel like AWS is this big giant behemoth. It's really hard to sort of wrap your head around because there's just so many terms, so many options, and you almost feel like you need to hire a backend infrastructure team, which is fine for some large scale of companies, but I think for a lot of people, uh, increasingly you realize that you don't need that. You can have basically what I think about is like sort of backend as a service, but there are a lot of different terms for this, and I think a lot of it's um, in like why now instead of 10 years ago is because that there's been a huge movement towards managed services for everything. Serverless is one form of managed, very very managed service, and I think Amplify is very tied into that movement of full stack serverless, that the idea that you can be a mobile developer, you can be a front end web developer, You can spin up, the exactly the backend infrastructure that you need, and it pretty much scales infinitely on the AWS level. You can always sort of eject and take over the management of individual AWS resources if you need to. But just to get started, it should not be that hard. So I think Amplify is, I think, the best articulation of like what that could look like for front end and web developers. And this is like a huge. Obviously, there are a lot of developers like that, and like AWS itself has been completely closed off to them for until now. So I think this is why I joined. I think this is pretty exciting.
That's an awesome overview. Let me just take 1 second because someone is saying that I have a helicopter pilot audio, so I'm curious because I do have
Whoop,
this
whoop, whoop,
mic,
whoop,
which
whoop.
I assume was pretty decent. Uh,
Well, your headset looks
oh,
like
you
a
know what?
like helicopter headset.
It's not. Oh, but not the sound quality.
You may have to switch your sound input.
Yeah, I
I've
hope
got
it's
mine
not
on.
humming from my webcam.
This is
Oh,
a
I
this
thought
is an
that. Oh, okay. I thought that comment meant it sounded like I was in a helicopter, but I guess I look like I'm in a helicopter. But yeah, no, I think the overview is good. I think the part I like to say, did we lose your video, Shawn?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, it got kicked out a little bit.
Oh, so basically, like sort of another way to think about it, maybe with an example. I assume most people in chat are probably vaguely familiar with AWS. So if you want to use storage, for example, we have a category called storage or S3, and essentially just abstract having to talk to it directly. You can talk to it through Amplify, and you can set up authentication and therefore can authenticate against like different buckets without you having to do everything manually. So that's kind of another way to think about it is we've sort of done a lot of the heavy lifting when talking to specific AWS services. Um, and the core ones are pretty much around authentication, storage, functions, so Lambda, and then APIs, so you can use REST or GraphQL. So that's the pretty high level overview. Um, I guess though we should probably introduce ourselves before we go any further, and then we can probably hop into the demo.
Sure. I'm also trying to pull up some slides and
Okay.
a talk that I would recommend. I
Okay.
just pulled it up, so I'll be ready to give that after we introduce ourselves, I guess.
Okay, so yeah, I can start. So I'm Matt. I've been working on the Amplify team for I think it's been like 5 months now. I'm a solution architect, so I'm working with developers in our community to help them understand how they can use Amplify, as well as I've been really focused on open source. I think we forgot to mention that it's an open source framework, so that's a key component. So all of our libraries are available on GitHub. I actually set up this chatbot command. Let's see if it works. It looks like it did. So if you click that link, that will take you to our GitHub, and you can see all of our different libraries, and they're all open source. So a big part of my role is working with folks in the open source community. So whether you open an issue or you're in our Discord, I'm just trying to foster that community.
Cool. I one follow up question with that. Isn't it when is it solutions architect and when is it solution architect?
I think it is always solution. It is never solutions. That's my
Is it
take,
like
though.
a attorney's general thing where you pluralize the
Yeah.
first word? Like
No,
when multiple solution architects get together, they're solutions architect.
I think it's still singular. I don't know. That's my take. Oh yes, and I did used to previously work from Twitch and got experience on the Twitch dev channel. So maybe there's some folks from the Twitch dev community here. But yes, I only come up with one solution for the day, which makes the job a lot easier.
Cool. Yeah, so I guess my turn. I'm Swix. I'm also known as Shawn. I recently joined. I used to work in Netlify, and before that, I was essentially in a different career altogether. I used to work in finance before changing careers. And a lot of what I do is essentially I care about developer productivity and developer communities. I help to run, uh, you know, I help to moderate the r/React.js subreddit. So there's like 200,000 people there if you want to learn about React. I help to start the Svelte Society community as well. So if you want to learn about Svelte, just because one framework's not good enough, I gotta have multiple.
Is that how you
I
pronounce
also
it?
help
I was saying
what
Saveri.
Svelte, like the English. I guess it's the French or English word. I don't know.
Okay.
Um,
I just learned that.
and then like I also do a bit of teaching on the side, just like React, TypeScript, Node, serverless as well. I think these are all just like really cool technologies that have just come along in the last 5 to 7 years that have just made it possible for people like me to ramp up really quickly. So I appreciate that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Also, one reminder, if you have any questions, please post them in chat. And we have sort of a team of people also, I think, watching from the engineering team. So if we can't answer it, they should be able to. So if you have any questions, that would be great. Um,
Yeah.
should we switch to the
Should I
demo?
should I share should I share this slide that I wanted to recommend?
Yeah, yeah. Let me switch to the. So this might take a
Yeah.
second to. Yeah. So share your screen and then.
Sharing. I think this
Yes.
works.
Wow. That worked
Awesome.
surprisingly well.
I'm actually gonna drop this in the chat. I'm not sure if I can. Yeah, I think I can. So this is a talk I highly, highly recommend because it's so well done, by Derek Bingham from Australia, and it basically gives that Amplify pitch in 30 minutes. But here's the main mental model that I have when I think about Amplify, and so I just find there's no like I'm just gonna steal this slide for the rest of my time here, because it's so good. So there's parts of Amplify that are open source, and there are parts which are managed services, which means basically you pay AWS to take care of it for you, right? So this is all free. You can contribute, or you can just take it for yourself. And then this is all like you pay per use or whatever. So Amplify is like I kind of think of it as like a layer on top of AWS, but there are like multiple different layers that you can engage with, right? The core of it is the CLI. That's a lot of how the Amplify experience starts, at least today. Sorry, that's my that's my reminder to stretch. I'm just gonna make a
Oh.
pause for a bit.
Well, everyone on the stream can stand up and stretch.
I know, right? So, I've been dealing with some RSI issues, repetitive strain injuries. So I intend to, try to stretch my fingers, make sure I'm not like sort of cramping up, straighten my back, and occasionally stand. So I think that's good for anyone who's working on computers for a long time. So back to Amplify. I think the main part of it is that people interact with it in the terminal. The CLI basically generates CloudFormation, which helps to provision your resources, and these are all just sort of best practices. The way I kind of phrase it is like it's an open source framework that helps you generate CloudFormation. And it's all done by internal AWS experts according to best practices. Like you couldn't pay for this team. You probably couldn't afford this team if you wanted to hire them.
You're saying
Um,
like a backend team.
the people who are like CloudFormation wizards and stuff
Oh,
like
oh,
that.
oh,
Like
yeah.
people who specifically curate categories for you. So Amplify has this concept of categories where we're like, okay, you want authentication. The choice that we sort of have picked for you by default is Cognito. You want storage? There are like 5 different options in AWS, but we're gonna offer you DynamoDB for data and S3 for files by default. So these are just like all very, very sort of well selected options for you, right? Which we can get into later. Like you can pick others, like analytics. You have like a combination of I think pinpoint and some other option, like which I always forget. but like these are of the 200-ish AWS services, these are the sort of curated ones, which are sort of that represent the future of AWS and which are sort of well maintained and curated by the Amplify team. So I kind of I really like that sort of framing in terms of like someone picks it for you, picks the tech. That's great.
It's
Uh,
opinionated, right? I think that's a main
it's opinionated.
component of the
Yeah.
framework, and also just covers a lot of these basic use cases like authentication, something that pretty much any app is probably going to need. So
Yeah.
that's kind of already been scoped out.
And then there's the client libraries. So the client libraries are the way that you interface. Like, so they're written in iOS, Android, JavaScript, and Flutter as well, which we recently released, and I did a video on
Yeah, I was
yesterday.
gonna say there's
Um,
no Flutter there.
I think this was produced in like July, so things get out of date. We move quickly. I think so. These are commonly called like SDKs. That may be a dated terminology, which may not be so familiar in some contexts, but I mean, SDK is a very familiar technical term. Like the native in language idiomatic library that I call to access all these services that have been provisioned by the CLI and provisioned in CloudFormation, right? So all right, that's like the basic stuff. That's just like the SDKs that I call. But then also Amplify goes a little bit further and offers you some UI components. So out of the box, it already has like a login widget, and then that's what we're going to see today. So we're actually going to see all three of these, but the main goal of the login widget is the main goal of the UI components is to just get you up and running quicker. You're probably going to want to eventually customize it a lot, right? But let's say you're building like an internal tool or you're just doing an MVP. It's a really good fast way to get started by just throwing in a bunch of pre-configured UI components that already work with the client libraries, that already work with the infrastructure that you have been set up with the CLI. So if you're a product developer, this is the ideal toolkit for you to get started sort of making whatever. So I think that's my explanation of the open source part of the Amplify framework. And then there's like the managed services. So managed services, device farm is for mobile testing. Like they're literal like physical phones, and it's just like a bank of them, and you can just sort of run programmatic tests on them. But Amplify console is kind of where if you're a web developer, you want not only to set up all this stuff, you also want to host it somewhere on the web, connect it to a custom domain, have CI/CD set up, and pay for bandwidth and stuff like that. So it's pretty much like a full suite of services. The one thing I think is missing from this slide is AppSync, which is also under the AWS Amplify umbrella, and that I think it's kind of basically under this sort of data element where AppSync is like a managed GraphQL service. So if you're interested in spinning up, I will probably cover it in like a future episode. But if you're interested in spinning up a GraphQL gateway and store data and then configure other custom resolvers, that's probably one of the top three ways right now in the world of sort of doing GraphQL like that, and it's very, very powerful. And we have an awesome team doing that. So that's the overview of AWS Amplify. Do you think would you add anything to that?
No, I think that, yeah, I think you did a great job. I think it's a really hard thing to cover quickly. So, and I know you said that the YouTube video is 30 minutes, so that's pretty impressive. It's also cool to see in chat some folks have enjoyed our docs, which is great to hear because I think that's something that is hard to produce. So I'm glad people
It's
are
hard to
finding
get
them
right.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to get right.
I mean, and honestly, like it always needs more work. Like I've been sending a bunch of PRs myself. Yeah, but so the docs kind of reflect the three level structure. So there's CLI, there's libraries, and then there's console, and then there's the UI components, which are all the way sort of hidden here. So so this is meant for total beginners getting started. Then there's the CLI is like kind of what you use to spin things up. Then there's the libraries, which are like the SDKs, and then the UI widgets, which are specialized
I,
for whatever use case, like authentication.
And there's a screenshot of one. Yeah. One other call out is, so since all of our libraries are on GitHub, I think it's a great opportunity if you want to create an issue or if you want to actually submit a PR and submit an improvement. All of our docs are open sourced as well, so I think that's something that's fairly unique about the Amplify offering, and a large part of my role has been interacting with the community there. So I don't know if you want to
Yeah.
show like the docs GitHub, but you can create an issue and you can interact with members on our team. Actually, you're right. So
Yeah.
you can.
There's there's a little nuance here. I think we're still sort of working on this because it's not super smooth yet. But let's say I'm on a particular library, like let's just say
Right.
JavaScript, and then I notice like here, like okay, so like I noticed a typo here. I can just hit edit. Um, and it would just let me edit. The one nuance is that we have this like sort of fragment structure. So it basically sort of forks by platform, and we gotta remember like, okay, I'm keen on the JavaScript version of this, so I'm gonna go to the JavaScript version. So we're gonna head to the fragments that are located here. I think it's down in fragments, lib, and what is it? JS.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a little
and
tricky.
then
I'd
we'll be
say
able
if you clone the
to edit
repo
this.
locally, there's a README too. It's not so bad.
Right, like a contributing thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like
You like
editing in
using
GitHub because
the UI.
because then I can directly start the PR, start the conversation as to like, so here's the PR that I did, which I think it's just a really good practice to start, being involved in like uh the
Open
docs
source.
of the thing that being involved in open source, but also just like being involved with the docs of the thing that you use, because it gives people the opportunity to answer questions. Like it's like, okay, I not only made the PR, I reviewed my own work, and then I said, this is what I was thinking, and people can actually give comments a lot in line with the docs. So it's like docs, but with editing, right? And it all
Exactly.
works within a familiar sort of GitHub interface. That's something I really like. Instead of like, I don't know, like it's not as effective if like I'm sort of asking a question out of the blue and like there's no context. Like I like to give things in context, which is really cool.
Totally.
Yeah.
Um, it looks like we got one question that might be pretty specific.
Okay.
Are you able to see the chat, Sean?
Yeah.
So it looks like
I have it on my
roars
phone.
roars are beats. So question, somewhat technical. After a function after amplify function add. How does amplify pass
Ooh.
in the environment variables to CloudFormation template? My assumption was when amplify CLI uses the AWS SDK, passes it in via the parameter argument. Actually, have not tried to do that.
Yeah. So the Amplify CLI. My answer is the Amplify CLI does not support this yet.
Okay.
We are working on it because it's a highly, highly, highly requested feature. But as for right now, you have to use the Amplify, the AWS Lambda console. Um, I hope
Oh,
that makes sense
yeah.
for Rosa Beats. So like you have to directly edit in yourself, or if you want, I don't recommend this, but you can directly edit the cloud formation that's been generated and add in the the environment variables. So I think we have a issue open for this. Um, that's kind of like the tracking issue for this request. I've commented. Yep. So this is actually exactly what you need to do if you want to do it in CloudFormation. I personally would not do any of this. I would just go ahead and put it into the Lambda console, and that's what I did on my live stream with Stripe, also on Twitch. But hopefully that answers your question. I'm going to drop that link to the issue in here,
That's
and
cool.
then feel free to follow up with me on the chat.
Um, Something kind of funny is someone could actually take a clip of our stream, because Twitch, and then they can throw that into the issue.
Oh, don't get too fancy on me. I'm I'm still too new.
You don't
But
know
yeah,
how
that,
Twitch
that
works?
sounds
Yeah, so someone could take a clip of that. Anyway, we should probably move on to the demo
yeah. All right.
because I want to make sure we have time to go through it all.
Cool. So this is a very, very sort of beginner friendly demo. And a
This
loading spinner on my video.
it says that it's sending to it. I see no problems on my end. That's so weird. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the stream, and it's
Okay.
definitely crashed.
Some people are saying we're back.
Oh, they said welcome back.
Okay.
Are we back?
I don't
I'm
know.
not sure.
I've had full internet. I've had no, like, we've been on the call, so I don't know what happened.
Okay, I just reloaded myself, and I saw
Yeah.
myself reloading. So I think
Okay.
I think we're good.
I think we're good. Why
Uh,
don't you start with, I'm gonna do this super quickly.
Okay, so I have a empty repo. I have the results already done, but I'm just gonna start from scratch. Right, we're gonna create sort of this React app because that's just where the majority of our users are. But of course, you can feel free to follow along using your own framework. So I'll just call this Amplify with Friends. And essentially, the main thing we're trying to show off right now is just how to add authentication and how quickly that's possible. Oh God, so annoying. AWF, whatever.
By the way, you might want to make the terminal. Oh no, it looks fine. I was gonna say the
Yeah, I
font's
always
a
make it
little
bigger.
larger.
Okay, fine.
No, no, I don't think you need to though, because I can see it okay.
Yeah, it's one of those like speaker training things that you do.
Yeah.
Always make things bigger. You know, I have a guide of like what to do when you're speaking.
Really?
Yeah. So here,
I would love that.
recording your screen, make everything bigger. This is like my number one complaint when anyone does YouTube talks or videos or live streams. They keep it in their ultra wide, resolution, and they forget that like yeah, most like half of us are watching on their phones. So
Yeah.
so this is a bunch of tips for me because like I do a bunch of online conference speaking. So
Do you have
this
the
is
link to
this is a
that
good
though?
idea to. Oh yeah, sure. Let me drop it in here. I need to be better at dropping links. So
Okay.
okay, so I think the best way to do this, like I use VS Code. I don't know what people prefer to use, but VS Code has like 50% market share, which is massive. And so like I like to pull up this kind of setup because it seems pretty familiar to people as well. Oh, hang on, I already have it running here, so I'm just gonna close it in terms of my pre-done setup. Okay, so anyway, so this is like a very basic standard front end developer setup, right? You may be using other frameworks, or you may be using iOS or Android, but it's pretty much like you have your source code for your client side, and you don't have anything for your backend, right? And the idea is to sort of co-locate everything so that you can sort of version control together with your front end. And the way so the version that I'm running right now is a special sort of preview version of the Amplify CLI. I already have it installed because we talked about the prerequisites. I'm running the Flutter preview just because I'm doing some Flutter content right now, but you can do 4.27 or 4.28 if you're looking at this in the future. But anyway, so the main command that you want to run is amplify init, and that kind of takes you through like a series of prompts to set up your project. Basically, you can just hit enter a bunch of times because it auto detects all the settings that you're using, and it's basically always right. So these are just ways which you can opt out or you can customize to a particular setting. But if you're going through the happy path like default route, then it's pretty smooth and you can just set up your script like that. So probably like the one thing which can be a little bit counterintuitive is this AWS profile thing, and this is a feature of AWS in general. Like I think it's like a security slash cost management feature that you want to have different profiles. I don't really need to worry about that because I work at AWS, but in a bunch of production settings that you're gonna want to have different profiles.
I have a few
I just
different
go with it.
ones.
You do?
Yeah.
What are they?
Well, because I have a personal AWS account, I have a like I have multiple AWS accounts, so I have a profile for each one.
Yeah, I just like why like I mean you work here, so I don't I just put everything on the work one.
Yeah, I guess I can mine crypto.
No, I think there's like limitations on
Oh.
what you actually spend because they still track your spending. Okay, so this actually takes a while. It basically like is provisioning all that stuff. We're actually not going to even wait for that. We're actually going to go ahead and skip ahead to actually no. I think this will be fast enough. All right, yeah. So this is so the provisioning is done, and what that does for you is two things. It establishes the Amplify folder, but it essentially is empty. There's not really much going on here. It just has some information for you to check into Git so that you can replicate it when you move to a new machine. The main thing that you want to look for is this in the source folder. They've actually created this new JavaScript file because I told it I was a JavaScript project. If it was a iOS or Android project, it would be like those separate different file formats, which I don't really know. But it exports a single I guess config, and these are all static data, which is it's fine to consume externally. Like it's not going to infringe your security if you expose it. But this will actually grow as you add capabilities. So we're going to try to add our first capability. Is this big enough for you?
No.
So there's this concept of categories, right? So we can amplify add anything. I think if I just did amplify add, it tells you the categories. I'm
Oh,
actually not
I
sure
think
about
you have to
this.
say help. Dash
Sorry?
dash help. Oh no, I guess you're right.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, it doesn't tell you the categories.
It does. It
Um,
says category. I think it does.
It didn't tell you
Oh
what
no, it
categories are
doesn't say what
available.
they are. Try
But I would just go to the docs for that one if you like. I know them off the back of my head because I I use this.
How do you do that,
Um,
Renee? Renee's saying it does, but
what says it on the top? Really? Oh, there you
oh, it's because that really large ASCII art.
go. We should make
I'm
this
not a
colored.
huge fan of that. Yeah.
So I maintain a list of tools to make your CLIs more interesting because I teach a course on CLIs,
You teach a
and you
course
can
on CLIs. That's really cool.
yeah because I was responsible for the Netlify CLI,
That's very specific.
um, and yeah we should use this one. Isn't that nice?
Yeah. If
Yeah, we should have more color.
yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, so there's all these categories: Amplify, Analytics, API, Auth, function, hosting, interactions, notifications, predictions, storage, XR. So my dream is to get to XR someday. I'm leaving it to the last because it's the least sort of familiar to me.
That's
But
augmented reality just for everyone, right?
well, XR
Or
means it's
augmented
either
and virtual.
it's uh, virtual or augmented. Yeah, exactly. Using Amazon Sumerian, I think. Um, all right, cool. So what we're gonna do is Amplify add auth, um, which is kind of like a lot of the other functions are gated behind an authentication layer. Like you want to know who your users are, so you wanna I guess enable authentication. So we're gonna use the default selections and just go with the username default username and sign up. But there's others like
Phone
sort of
number.
yeah well federated login, like logging in with Facebook or Google. I think those are pretty standard options that you see in any authentication provider. um, and then the last so that probably also modifies what's available here. I think my favorite way of doing this is to run amplify status, and then you can see what you have configured. But there are multiple ways of doing this. I like to run amplify status to show what you have configured. So if you want hosting, if you want APIs, it'll all just be listed here so you know exactly what needs to be done and whether it's been uploaded or created on the cloud or not. So here it says create, which means that it has yet to be created in the cloud. So the CLI is telling you like you still need to push this. So the way you push that is amplify push, and then you can hit amplify push -y if you want to automatically prompt yes. Because right now amplify
Oh.
push is basically going to run amplify status and say like I'm going to check between my local state and the cloud and see if there's any discrepancy. If there's a discrepancy, then we're going to push. So we can just say yes to
I
continue,
actually didn't know you
and
could
then it's
do
going to
that.
kick off.
Like -y.
Really?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So funny enough, I have a bunch. So I never actually type this stuff. Let me just.
I feel like we need a separate session on like tips and tricks from Shawn.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I
I got a
can't
bunch of.
believe how many tricks you have.
So I never actually typed this out. You see this A? This is an alias for amplify. So I can just say a add auth, right? Or AS for amplify status. Um, and
That to
and
me
for
is
pushing,
crazy though. Like I know a lot of people use like alias for like get checkout, and it's like it's not that many more letters.
no, but you type this like a dozen times a
Yeah.
day. Like why not, right? Just make your terminal understand
It's
you.
just yeah.
So this is amplify push yes. And that will automatically confirm it. You can check out my dot files. So these are all the aliases I have set up. So I have amplify
Oh
console, amplify
wow.
status, amplify push, and I publish my dot files here. So just dot files. And I'm gonna drop it in here as well. So yeah, if you want to steal some ideas, feel free to check it out. I have some nifty like Python and JavaScript ones as well. Cool. So I think I actually accidentally killed the amplify push. So yeah, like this is how I
APY. Okay,
this is how I
amplify
do amplify
push.
push.
Yes. Oh
Yes.
my
Yeah.
gosh. Wow. It takes more time for at least me to understand
No,
what
but
it.
like if you do this
Yeah.
a lot, you should customize it. It just increases it. Honestly, it just saves your keystrokes. You have a limited amount of keystrokes. So I think I accidentally killed. So we may have run into a bad state. I think I accidentally killed
Oops.
my upload here. It doesn't matter because I already did it. So we're gonna skip to my pre-done thing. I was gonna do this anyway, so that we don't have to wait for the provisioning. So here we just we just did what we just explained. And now we're going to add the authentication. So if I do Amplify status, it's going to say that the authentication has already been done, and then it changed from create to no change, like meaning I've already deployed and there's no change that needs to be done. So now what we're going to do, I always kind of refer to the docs for this. I could memorize it, but I feel like it's better to teach people how to fish. So we're going to go to UI components actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the UI sort of client libraries, and that's AWS Amplify, AWS Amplify UI React. It so happens that I've already installed this, so it's going to be really quick. But those are the libraries that you kind of need to get going. The second thing that you need to do is to set up configuring. So I think the best place for this is inside of index.js. I have a widget. I hope this works. Amplify configure. Oh, it doesn't work. So I have a VS Code extension for this. But it doesn't work very well. I think it's just very slow.
I think we also released another VS Code, the MLH fellows. Yeah.
Okay, no, I forgot the trigger
right?
words. No, this is mine. It's just snippets. You can make your own, but there is
it's really cool though. I think.
Yeah.
At least.
So these are just like ways to decrease the amount of boilerplate that you have to copy and paste because it really gets in the way of your flow. So what we're going to do is we're going to import one single top level Amplify instance. We're going to import from AWS exports, and that's the file that I showed you earlier with all this stuff. You can see how after pushing, you get all this extra information about your Cognito region, which is for authentication, and your user pools. And all gets imported as this object, and you just pass this object right into Amplify configure, and that's how you configure Amplify for the entire sort of instance of your app. And I think that's it's 3 lines. It's very simple. Then we're going to go to the app layer, and I think I can import authenticator with authenticator. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so sorry, this Zoom header is kind of bothering me. So this is a default. Actually, let me just get this running because I think we can just get it.
I also do want to find the VS Code library that we like, our official one, to put in chat. But does anyone have it?
Do you want mine?
No, it's okay.
Do you want the official one?
Well, I mean, they're both the same. Wow. Wait, sorry, I totally missed. You're saying you just copied and paste CSS that does that?
No. This kind of comes with it by default. I did this sneaky.
No, I'm saying, how did you get the spinny image? Because that does not come by default.
Yeah. No, this is the default one.
Yeah, it's like the
logo.
React logo. Yeah, that's really funny.
I swapped it out for Amplify image just because I thought it'd be cool. Yeah. I think so. The recommendation that I've baked in for myself is using the with authenticator higher order component. So that's literally a simple, like, you can just wrap it with authenticator here, and then this is a React component that you can just kind of stick in somewhere else as well. And I think that should reload and automatically get us that. I'm already signed in, so we should probably sign out. We should get us that nice UI layer, right? So like without any setup, like I've already created this nice sort of login page. So I think that's the vision of a UI component, like like the Amplify provided UI component that you can pretty easily throw in like a login wall on any part of your page. Like it doesn't have to be the full page; it could be part of your UI. But I think that's the rough idea. You can create an account and sign in and confirm your email address. I've already pre-created it, so I'm just going to go ahead and sort of log in with my own credentials. Just because I find that it saves time. And I think it's
making an account.
Really cool. Yeah, I mean, in terms of a demo, like everyone's familiar with how to make.
Can you show the console? Because I think it will. Sorry, it will print if you're logged in, or maybe you have to. I think.
I actually don't know if it
prints. Oh, okay.
Never mind. You just have to. Yeah, you just have to add that in yourself. Yeah, so that's a really sort of easy way to throw on authentication onto your app, and that kind of uses that, like, introduces you to the flow of Amplify, which is provision something on the back end, and then throw in, install and import in the JS libraries, right? And the UI components, use them. And then you're already up and running with sort of backend provision for your front end, right? And I think that's really cool. I think the final part is always that you should always try to be able to host your code somewhere, and we can throw in Amplify hosting.
And then we can send
Do
it to
you
everyone,
think
I
we should?
guess.
Yeah, do you think we should do that?
Yeah,
Let's do
it
that.
doesn't hurt. I know it takes a few seconds. We could answer some
No,
questions. Um,
I can just do it right now. Like
yeah.
Amplify add
I also think
add.
it's cool to point out that, excuse me,
I'm actually
you
I'm
never
actually gonna
had
throw
to
this on
log into
GitHub.
the console,
Right, I haven't
the
touched the
AWS
Amplify
console.
console. Yeah, yeah. Agreed. So I'm gonna create. This is my
Uh-oh.
favorite way to create a repo. What?
Yeah, no, I'm saying this is pretty crazy.
Yeah. So normally I like create a GitHub repo. So there's no GitHub for this yet. I like to create a GitHub repo in the GitHub UI, but I just I'm trying to learn this new GitHub CLI that GitHub released, and it's pretty cool. If I can remember how they do these things. GH
It's
repo create.
probably, yeah. Don't you have to
Um,
pass in a name?
so that see it already like names this repo, and
Oh,
yeah. And it does all this. I think so. Then it modifies your package JSON as well, so you can. Actually, it doesn't. So we need to modify our package JSON too. So I'm going to do npm init, npm init -y, and that will add a bunch of fields to your package JSON with all the created GitHub
I
repo
see.
stuff. I'm going to add MIT to this because I care about licensing. I don't know. Like, I feel like I care more about licensing than the regular developer, just because I've been bitten by some license issues in
Ooh,
previous job. And if you want a proper npm MIT license, you can go npx license MIT,
I didn't know
and
that.
they'll actually scaffold out a license for you, which is. Oh, did I do it wrong? Huh. Oh, do I have to capitalize MIT?
I've never
Oh,
tried
there we
this.
go.
It looks like so. It looks like
Yeah, so this is an MIT license that's been spun up for us. So
wow.
at least at least people have the right to view this code, which I think is pretty important. Here's another one of my sort of bash aliases. So this is git add and then commit init, whatever, and then git push origin main, and that will do it. So for those people who want to rename their default Git branches from master to main, I actually also have another article on how to do that. Yeah, you can see how I don't even touch master anymore. It just always is main. And I think that's something that Amplify as a whole wants to move towards, to support. That's just to name something more intuitive. So I'm going to drop that article there. And then you can see this in our on GitHub. So at least we have something to set up CI/CD for. The whole reason I want to do this is to set up CI/CD. But at least you can see kind of my workflow for doing this. I'm going to make this public as well so that people can actually see it.
Oh, so the CLI does not do that.
I think you can pass a parameter to call it public, but by default they want to make it secure.
Oh, okay.
This is probably too secure. Like, I do everything public by default, and then only some things are private. But I think
It's
they
okay.
made that call. Yeah, they made that
So
call.
now
for
you're saying
security.
you're going to link this to Amplify.
Yeah, what should we call it? We should call it AWS Amplify.
I'm curious, do you have a plugin for that Netlify button? That's not default, right?
Deploy to Netlify? Yeah.
That
Yeah,
must
yeah,
be
I
like
made
a
this for
widget.
myself.
That's funny.
Yeah. That's my Netlify browser extension.
Yeah, I was curious.
So I can tell what sites are hosted on Netlify or not.
Oh,
And actually I have a dream of like making this. So you can see I can see that this is a Netlify site by checking the site header, and I can look at the GitHub if it's open source, and I can also go to the deploy logs for my own site. But any site that's hosted on Netlify, I can use this because you just sort of publish nice headers to that. So
that's
yeah.
cool.
You should make your own tooling. I think developers kind of shy away from making their own tooling, but it's actually not that hard, and it lets you understand your world a lot better. Okay, so that was a long detour. We're gonna clean this up, but
Well, we still haven't linked
essentially
it though, like to Amplify, right? For auto deploys.
exactly. So I'm about to do that. So
Oh, okay.
Amplify add hosting, and that uses Amplify console. So you can either use CloudFront in S3, which doesn't have the CI/CD setup, or you can use console. So the whole reason I did the GitHub thing was to set up console, because then you can directly link to the GitHub that's been linked. So that, I mean, yeah, why not, right? Like I think it's a best practice. We should make sure to use it as much as possible.
Yeah.
Um,
I actually have
so
not done this via the CLI. Linked it.
yeah, you can. So like this part actually it just kicks you out
Oh,
to
oh,
the
so
front
you
end.
can't actually.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. But
Oops.
for like manual
That's
deployments where you, if you, let's say you don't have a GitHub and you just want to upload from your machine up to Amplify, then you have to do it
right,
with the
right.
CLI, right? It looks like I have a login issue with my session.
Ah,
Um,
so your
I
profile
I
is
may
not
have
working.
I'm I may have screwed that up a little bit, but anyway, it's fine. I know where to go. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna find that. We've already set it up. GitHub.
I thought it was called something else.
Uh, we called it AWF on my local
Oh,
machine,
okay.
and that's what I set up the name for on
So there
there.
we go.
So yeah, we're gonna set up that CI/CD um, right there. Yep.
And then you have main.
That's so
Wow.
that's so easy. So easy, so easy. Yeah, I think yeah, it's all defaults are fine. I always like, yeah, I'm trying to get them to select all these things by default so that I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, you can set all these settings. But I think it's just nice to have a UI to host your front
Totally.
end. And it's integrated with your backend as well. So like we don't have much here, so there's nothing to show. But when we add an API layer, when we add a database, it'll all be managed from we can access all that information from here. So I think that's pretty
Why
cool.
don't you make a change and then commit it
Sure.
just to show?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think it's
So
synced. It's just
yeah, I need to amplify publish as well. So
right.
let's put that crazy logo.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think it's here.
Wow, I'm
That's
learning
my
so
clipboard.
much. You know, I never knew that you could do a history like that. Or is that not
That's my
by default?
clipboard manager, known as
Oh,
Clippy.
okay. Wow.
There's a bunch of tools that do this. So, but this one's open source and I like it. Um, I wanna make my own
Clippy.
clipboard manager someday. Yeah, because like this is a security risk if you don't audit the source code. You don't actually know if they're like sending all your everything you copy to them.
So who audited it?
I mean, it's open source and it's fairly popular. So like, hopefully the massive population
Right.
has audited it. But realistically, nobody reads all the code, right? So anyway, I want to make my own, but for now, I'm using Clippy, which gives me not only so a lot of how I do my demos. So here's my utilities, which I use a lot, right? Here's my demo. So for example,
Oh, wow.
for my Amazon interview, when I interviewed at Amazon, I actually used this to do checkpoints for my code base. Like to prepare a presentation, and then I would do checkpoints to in case I screwed up, I would be able to just paste in pre-prepared code. Um, so yeah, you should have all these dev tooling at your fingertips, so it just makes your life a lot easier and faster.
That's
Um,
cool. Should
mhm,
we just take a pause for a second and see if there are any questions?
yeah,
Let me see if I can scan back.
I'm gonna add this in, by the way, to GitHub, and then we
Okay.
can,
Okay.
yeah, finish.
Okay, so we'll take a pause for a second. Let me look through. Um, I also wanted to try this poll feature. I was gonna poll people to see who is currently using Amplify. Is that something you'd want to try, Shawn?
Okay.
Let me see. So I think there's a poll people can try. Um, but okay, I think we missed some questions. Um, let's see something that's more focused on our demo. So this is a good question. So what's the difference between Amplify API libraries and Amplify CLI, for example? In the documentation for fetching document, there are two different ways to set up the fetching actions. API library uses only Amplify API.query, while the CLI uses AWS client.
I don't think I understand that question.
It's from uh, GJ
The
Amplify Android. Yeah, I guess I'm a little confused as well. But
the
overall,
CLI you can't use the CLI in your code. The CLI is only used in the terminal to set up infrastructure for yourself. Then the code is where you the libraries is where you call that code, like API.get whatever. Um, where's the fetching? Yeah, so API.get and then whatever API path that you set up. Um, yeah, they're pretty distinct. One you use inside of your code, one you use outside of it.
Okay. Also, it looks like Renee answered it. How much
Someone
RAM
says
do your tabs use? Where's the paperclip? Oh, so I think this is a good suggestion for another episode, but it sounds like someone wants to know how would you set up staging in production environments and dev. I also think it'd be helpful to dive into that.
yeah, there's an amplify env command. Here. So you can basically add an env or check out an env, or remove an env, whatever. So you could just set up multiple environments. By default, we set up the dev env, and then you can set up a prod env for your production.
Yeah, it is pretty simple to set it up, but I think in practice, when you think about different like auth environments, it can get more tricky.
Let's see if this build is done. This build is still going.
Yeah, it does take
Uh,
some time.
it's provisioning. No, so I think what where I kind of screwed up is that I should have done amplify publish from here. Um, and instead I
Oh, the
basically
UI
started
kicked it
a
off.
whole nother instance of Amplify
Yeah,
because I forgot to link it. Oh, my bad.
it happens. Um, any other questions about the demo? Any questions from chat? Looks like there's a few. Let's see, where do we want to start?
Uh,
Well, it looks like
so the
an
person
easy
who asked
one.
about
Or you
yeah,
go ahead, Shawn.
I'll answer some questions quickly. One person asked about Vue 3. Vue 3 is not even out yet, so whatever. it, it will be supported when it's out. But it's a JavaScript library. It's pretty, as long as it's the same language, it's fine. Yep. I don't know, like, okay, how do we mark questions which we have answered and how much
Yeah, it's kind of just messy to be honest. Yeah. Um, any
is there a way
plans?
to have different repos for back and front end? Yes, you just do what I did, but in the different repos, and it's totally fine. Like, you can uh, basically copy over the Amplify exports, that bit, right? This is the only thing that matters, right? It's like where what all the IDs of the things that you are in. So this will be generated by your backend repo. Copy that from your backend repo to your front end repo, and then reference all this, and that's it.
Um, let's see. Can you drop the link for my question at the beginning?
What does that mean?
I think I don't know. I think it was the GitHub or Docs. Oh, maybe Renee sent it.
Okay.
Wow, we're getting Inception.
Oh, the environment variables. Oh, okay. Yeah. Feature request custom environment variables in Lambda. That's
Oh, that one.
2227. Rows are beats. There we go. Sweet. Anyway, should I stop sharing? I
Well,
don't know
I
if
would
I'm.
like to get to the point in which we can share the demo to everybody, like
Oh,
the
yeah. Okay.
hosted version. It
Yeah.
shouldn't take that much longer, unless
Well,
it's broken.
uh, let's see. It's still in like the build phase. It's building the front end now, which is great.
Yeah, maybe we give it
Um,
another minute. Do you want me to talk through some of the closing announcements?
sure. Go ahead.
So let's see. So one thing I want to call out is we have a Discord community. So if you are new to Amplify and you want to keep learning about it, a great way to have conversations with people in real time is our Discord. So let's see if this command works. So you can join the Discord there. So that's a great way to just chat with other folks who are learning Amplify, sharing projects. You can interact with myself and Shawn there. So that's one thing I wanted to call out. We also have our developer docs. So this is a great place to basically go through like getting started guides or just dive more into specific aspects if you are already familiar with different sections. And then the other announcements here, let me see, we kind of pre-prepared a few. So reInvent is AWS's annual conference. So normally that is held in Las Vegas, but this year it's going to be remote. It's free, and it's going to be actually, I think, like 4 weeks, right, Shawn? It's going to be all
Yeah, it's
virtual, and it's going to be like video on demand style, so kind of like Netflix, so you can pick and choose and you can watch everything whenever you'd like. And the link for that is here. And the reason I'm calling it out is because Amplify is going to have a specific uh, content. So we're going to have our own content, and we're going to be in the front end, web, mobile, dev track. So that's a great opportunity to hear like really up to date, like the latest news on Amplify, and that's going to be totally free. So that's a great opportunity um, to learn more about Amplify. And then the last thing to call out is if you are a developer and you want to take part in a hackathon, the Mission to Mars hackathon is happening, and there's some awesome prizes. I think there's actually like several $1,000 prizes. Did you want to say anything else about the Mission to Mars, Shawn?
uh no, it's actually primarily focused on like machine learning. But
Artificial intelligence
uh
and robotics.
yeah, exactly. So if you want to try out sort of the Amplify predictions feature, I think there's some nice prizes and a really good community, and someone who's very dedicated to creating a great experience for you. Actually, let's show it. Mission to Mars. This is the most I mean, I haven't seen a lot of AWS events, but this is the most like, wow, this is its
This
own
is
thing with
big.
its own
Yeah.
platform. There's like prizes. There's a nice logo. What is it? 50K in prizes.
I think
50K in
60K.
credits.
Oh wow.
20K in prizes. Yeah, it's pretty, it's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
like it's a lot of toys. I've never used any of this stuff, but it'd be cool to try it out. Um, and there's webinars, there's office hours. There's a lot of support behind this. Some cool judges as well.
I thought I just saw
So
your
yeah,
face on there, but
yeah,
you're not a
I'm
judge.
speaking. I'm a mentor.
Oh yeah, you are on there. Okay, I'm not seeing things. So you're a
Yeah.
mentor. You didn't mention that. That's funny.
Well, I mean, I just do some talks. That's about it.
That's
Um,
still cool. Anyway,
yeah,
so there's reInvent and
AWS
Mission to
Mission to Mars.
Mars. And I'd say Discord is the best way to kind of continue the conversation. And then the last announcement is that we will be back in 2 weeks. And should we reveal the special guest, who our first special guest will be? Are there any guesses in chat? I don't know if people know who works on the or who the potential people could be. Wow, that's a
That's a
good
very
Jeff. Jeff Bezos.
Yes. Jeff is coming.
Jeff will be on it. Yeah. No, it is going to be Nikki Stone. So Nikki Stone, I actually previously did a Twitch show with her when I was at Twitch on how to build a Twitch extension, but she's a developer now on iOS or just mobile focused. So we're gonna be focusing more on the mobile side for the next episode. But it looks like Natter's gonna have to come on because two people guessed him. And then, is there any feedback too in chat about the show or things you'd like to see in the future? This was again just the very first episode, really focused on just an overview. I think the next few episodes are going to be more deep dives. I would love to have Jeff Bezos on.
um, yeah, I mean, I think he's actually working on the literal mission to Mars. Um,
Wait, say that again. Anyway, I am being asked that we hop off the channel so that I think there's another show. Do you want to quickly
cool.
send the link out if it
I
builds?
so there's
Oh, it's
some weird
broken.
thing with the React build, where it's actually built with my GitHub name on it. So I think I accidentally configured it with a GitHub with a GitHub setting, like it's for GitHub pages. So
Oh.
I think I screwed it. I basically in short, I screwed this up because it's trying to come from it's trying to pull from that URL slash my GitHub username, which is just wrong. So I screwed that up. We should just just I'll drop the repo link, and then I'll update the link with the correct one, because I think I screwed that up.
I just want to say thanks to everyone for joining. I think it's really awesome to see 140 people are on all the way to the end, and we've gotten a ton of comments. So that I think is really cool. Because again, I think this is one of the first times that Amplify's been on the Twitch channel. So I wasn't sure, if people were interested in this content, but it seems like they are. So that's pretty cool. Anything
Yeah,
else you want to say before we sign out?
um, no, I guess
It
see
got a little
everyone in
rushed
two.
at the end. Sorry about that. We'll have to save more time for the closing.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think if you have any comments, shout us out on Twitter. I
oh
think that's
yeah.
the AWS Amplify Twitter, and
Let
yeah,
me
I don't know. We'll be back in a couple weeks.
Yep, we'll see everyone in 2 weeks from now. All right, we will see everyone later. Bye.
Bye.